Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey guys, welcome back to Journey Forward with Jory Rose. I'm so happy that you tuned in today. I think I do some iteration of this episode every year around this time, and it's something that I'll hold really near and dear to my heart, and it is about how to let your shit go. In conjunction with letting your shit go, it's about setting New Year's intentions instead of New Year's resolutions. So I can tell you that for the past 6 years, every year, I have done a Let Your Sht Go workshop in which I used to hold in my office when I had my beautiful office space. And, obviously since COVID has let that go. And so it has since become a virtual space. But nonetheless, I find it a really, really important ritual in whatever timing works for you. Now, many people think that the end of the year and the beginning of the new year is the natural time to do that. And that's what our calendar says. And perhaps this timing doesn't really mean anything for you around starting over. I'm most concerned about the rituals that you create in endings, in setting intentions for new beginnings, so you can make a concerted and conscious effort to get really clear on how you want to live intentionally, how you want to live consciously, on purpose, with awareness, showing up in your value set as who you are in the here and now. So you can shed those unhealthy habits and patterns and mindsets that keep you pulling you into the past, keep getting you stuck, especially when it's having you recycle into patterns and patterns and patterns that are just not working for you. So to be able to really get clear on what's not working, so you can get really clear on what you want to cultivate. So really you can eliminate the roadblock from where you are to where you want to be. So in absence of gathering in person, imagine this episode to be our virtual Let Your Sht Go workshop. And it might be helpful for you to get out a pen and paper, to be able to take some notes so you can really consciously create ritual around the ending of 2021 as we embark into the new and upcoming year. Now, the Letting Your Sht Go workshop that I've done every year is really an opportunity to meditate and reflect on this past year. So I'm going to guide you guys through just a short little meditation for now. This isn't something I often do on the podcast, but imagining this being our virtual gathering together, that whenever you are listening to this, no matter where you are in the world, know that you are sharing in community around this practice. And knowing that you are not the only one, knowing that there is a collective practice that you are engaging in can help you feel not so alone and can help you really reach the level of your version of the improved and conscious and aware. And by improved, I don't mean that there's something not working inherently in who you are as a human, but improved in your skills, in your responses, in how you are navigating the natural hardships in life. So if you are driving, obviously don't close your eyes. If you are walking, obviously don't close your eyes. If you happen to be in your home or somewhere you can sit comfortably, I invite you to take a moment to just get yourself into a comfortable position. Perhaps if you're outside in nature, maybe you can find somewhere to pause and rest your gaze upon something in front of you that is pleasing, that is calming. Maybe it's a flower, maybe it's a favorite tree. Maybe you can, find a cloud in the sky to focus your attention on. The reason I invite you for this is so when you can slow down and when you can tune into your breath, and if your eyes are open, consciously focus your attention on something which will help you prevent your mind from wandering off. You have a greater ability at tuning inward rather than get pulled into distraction. So wherever you are, I invite you into this mindful moment. And I invite you to take a deep breath in, consciously breathing in through your nose. And as you exhale out, releasing it slowly out through your mouth. I invite you to have the exhale be a little bit slower and a little bit longer than the inhale, because we take a lot in, but we don't let a lot go. And we know from neuroscience that the slower and longer the exhale actually is going to activate the calming part of our brain. So once again, breathing in through your nose and exhaling out through your mouth. Perhaps you find it helpful to say the words breathing in and breathing out as you consciously engage in this mindful moment meditation that we're practicing together. And I also invite you on your next inhale to visualize something that is healing or nurturing or calming. And maybe it's a image of your favorite location, maybe a vacation spot, or maybe your most comfortable place at home, or maybe somewhere that you have seen in a picture that you idealize, just imagining yourself being. So breathing in this nurturing, this calming, this healing visual, allowing this energy to fill you up, permeating through your whole being. And as you exhale out, release anything standing in your way from engaging in this moment of peace, in this moment of presence. If it's a negative thought, if it's a distraction, if it's a adversive sound, if it's a uncomfortable sensation in your body, whatever it is, consciously connect to it as you exhale out so it holds a little bit less grip over you. Taking one more breath in, breathing in all that's nourishing and healing, and as you exhale out, letting go of what is no longer serving you. And if you have closed your eyes, I invite you to open your eyes. If you have paused in your walking, I invite you to now re-engage in movement and just notice how it feels to having taken that moment to consciously breathe in this nurturing and healing, whatever this image or this thought, maybe it was even a particular smell that is very calming to you. But to consciously connect with what you want to release, what you want to let go of, whatever it is that is standing in your way from getting you to where you want to be. You know, this mindful moment, which will set the foundation for the whole rest of this episode, this mindful moment is something you can do anytime, anywhere, no matter where you are. You don't have to necessarily physically stop and close your eyes, but it is rather an intention you can set to connect with your breath, to consciously breathe in, and to consciously exhale out. And the key, as I said before, is exhaling out a little bit longer than the inhale so we can activate the calming part of our brain. So thank you for sharing in this mindful moment. I hope you feel just ever slightly a bit calmer and more peaceful in your body. And I want to harness one of the thoughts that we had during that very short mindful moment meditation, in which we are wanting to connect with what is it that we want to release. As I said, we take a lot in, but we don't let a lot go, right? So imagine that you are carrying a bag and all of the slights, all of the hurts, all of the big and the little injustices, all of the capital T and the lowercase t traumas, all of the frustrations, all of the things that get us ungrounded and uncentered in our day or in our week or in our lives are like a rock that we add to this bag. And we tend to just accumulate and we, put more in this bag and we don't consciously realize the heaviness of what we carry with us. So letting your shit go in this virtual workshop that we're doing is recognizing what is those rocks represent? What is it that you're carrying around that perhaps you unconsciously picked up along the way, but you know is not serving you? It's holding you back, it's weighing you down, it's getting in the way of you reaching, whether it's your potential, whether it's getting in the way of you being fully present in your relationships, whether it's impacting your ability to focus or pay attention or sleep well or enact self-care. So if you happen to get out a piece of paper, as I suggested in the beginning, I invite you to begin to write down, make a list, be really clear. What is it that you're carrying? What do those rocks in the heavy bag represent in your life? So if you want to take this as an actual virtual class, I invite you to hit pause and just make a list of what are the things that you've been carrying. If you want to do this at some later time, you can always come back to this point in the episode. But until we get consciously clear on where we're stuck and what it is that we're carrying that's no longer serving us, there's no way we can begin to let it go. Because to keep it really broad and to just say, I want to let go of my anger. I want to let go of my inner critic. I want to let go of my resentments. I want to let go of the relationships that aren't serving me. Well, that is a great start, because as I always say, you can't change what you're not aware of. It may not be clear enough for you to actively engage in a pattern that's going to help you to do so. But now I've got one step further for you to consider. You know, it's so easy to say, let go of what's no longer serving you. Rather than just letting go of what no longer is serving you, which is a very, very, very helpful question to ask yourself, in order to be able to let it go, it is fundamental for us to understand how we adapted, what conditions were present in our life, and perhaps how at one point it did serve us. So maybe let's say you have a relationship that's no longer serving you. Maybe it's a friendship that has become toxic. And you want to be able to work on perhaps distancing yourself from this friend. So it's really clear that maybe you just want to let this friendship go. But to make this really concrete, understand what were the conditions present in your life that perhaps this friendship really served you at some point. Maybe it was some trauma bonding. Maybe it was a toxic friendship in which you engaged in some unskillful behaviors together, but it felt like at least you weren't doing it alone. So misery loved company, you know, or maybe you want to let go of the habit of overeating, okay, as an example. And how did overeating once serve you? Well, maybe it was a source of comfort when you were in a traumatic family dynamic growing up and you didn't have much comfort from somewhere else in your life. And so you turned to food for comfort. So these are just some examples, but it helps gives insight into that we have adapted to adopt patterns that helps support us. And as we continue to grow and evolve, one of the natural collateral impacts of our evolution is that those patterns, those adaptations, at some point, no longer serve our development, no longer serve our higher self, no longer are we gaining the benefit from what we once gained. Maybe you're wanting to let go of alcohol in your life and you recognize that turning to alcohol was a way of not having to feel your emotions that otherwise felt too difficult to feel. But perhaps now at this point in your life, you don't have difficult emotions that you're struggling with experiencing. So you don't need the alcohol to numb out because the conditions in which the emotions were difficult are no longer present. So there's another example. So I'm giving some big and broad examples, but perhaps it's really, really specific. I want to let go of being so harsh on myself. I want to quiet my inner critic and learn to be more kind to myself. Well, perhaps at some point that inner critic served us because it pushed us to get through some hard challenges. Maybe it pushed us to accomplish a degree in school or, you know, a hard promotion to get through at our jobs. Or maybe it, you know, kept us driven when we were trying to have a baby or whatever it is. But when you recognize that the conditions present in which you learned those adaptations, in which you developed those behaviors or those responses or those relationships, perhaps are not present now, or those conditions still are present, but you are ready to learn a new adaptation. You're ready to learn a new way of responding. that is in alignment with your higher self, with your higher purpose, with your future self, and how you want to show up in your one wild and precious life. So letting go of what no longer is serving you is easier said than done. And it's got to start with awareness. Now, one of my most favorite questions to ask, because oftentimes people really want to let go of what's no longer serving them, and they don't know how, which is just fine. And they end up staying stuck because they feel that letting go of what's not serving them is too hard. It's too daunting. But sometimes one of my most favorite questions to ask my clients is, how is it serving you to stay stuck? How is it serving you to stay stuck in carrying all those heavy rocks in the bag that you have that's on your shoulder? How is it serving you to stay stuck in this relationship or in this dynamic, whether it be with a friendship or your career, or again, how you're relating to your own self? Now, when I ask clients this question of how is it serving you to stay stuck, the initial response is very quick. And they always will answer by saying, it's not serving me. I hate it. I don't want to be engaging in this anymore. Well, one of the reasons we stay stuck and carrying our shit around is often because we're gaining some secondary benefit by it. Maybe it's because it's familiar, it's habit. It gives us an identity. It gives us a narrative. It helps us figure out who we are, perhaps in our family dynamic. It gives us, like I said, an identity in which we can be quick to explain who we are and why we're doing what we're doing. And sometimes in letting go of that identity and letting go of where you're stuck can be daunting, because who are you without that narrative? Who are you outside of that story or outside of what has held you to your trauma? So answering these questions for yourself gives you really, really good insight into why you have engaged in patterns that have not been working for you, but you don't otherwise know how to get unstuck from them. So as it is the end of the year, it is really easy. As our society, we hear it everywhere, talking about New Year's resolutions. And we know from statistics that New Year's resolutions do not stick. So I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I believe in setting New Year's intentions. And I'll just explain the difference in just a moment, but even more so in recognizing you actually don't need a day on the calendar to be a particular day for you to make a decision that you want to change a habit or a behavior. You can decide at any moment, at any point in any day, that you are ready to create change, and you do not need any external time or date to enact that change. All that is required for you to create change is the readiness and the awareness to say something's not working for me, and I am 100% in control of my response to my triggers, to my impulses, to my reactions. And even if I don't have the skills and the tools yet, I commit to learning them. So I'm going to let go the whole thought of, let's not set New Year's resolutions, because we're not looking to create some 90% shift in our lives. We're looking to create the 1% shift that over time is going to grow. So by setting an intention rather than a goal, an intention to me keeps you really present. A goal or a resolution allows you to determine your success based on some future, somewhat arbitrary outcome. I'm going to lose X amount of pounds by X date, right? It's arbitrary, not based on a lot of reality and what your body's actually capable of and losing weight. And oftentimes our goals are so lofty that our brain shuts down before we even begin because they feel too big. Whereas a New Year's intention allows you to get clear on what it is that you're working towards, but helps keep you really, really present in your moment-to-moment, day-to-day actions and responses, that are usually going to be based on your value set to help you understand, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I consciously choosing to put this cookie in my mouth? Is it habit? Is it because it's there? Is it because I'm lonely? Am I actually even hungry? Do I even like the taste of it right now? In absence of awareness and conscious living, we go through our patterns mindlessly all the time. So an intention is actually one of the 3 words in how I describe what it means to be mindful. To me, mindfulness is living with greater awareness, attention, and intention. And an absence of intention, we are mindlessly moving through our lives, continuing to put expectations on external factors to determine our own internal happiness. So an intention is something that allows you to tune into your greater needs. What is your soul craving? How do you want to show up in the world? And the best way to create change, after you've gained some clarity of what you're working towards, giving yourself no arbitrary deadline of when you need to achieve it, but starting small. What is one baby step that you can do, whether it's once a day, once a week, to step you towards that intention of how you want to show up in your own life? If you create a goal for yourself that is too big, I would almost bet money on the fact that you won't be able to meet it. So starting with small, attainable steps that are really within your reach is one of the best ways to build the foundation towards creating change. Instead of saying, I'm going to exercise 5 times this week, tell yourself, I'm going to work towards consistently exercising for 1 day. Rather than giving an arbitrary time frame of it's got to be 45 minutes for me to feel, quote, successful, give yourself a smaller time frame that you have a better chance at being able to meet. Maybe it's 10 or 15 minutes of movement. And when you can successfully and consistently meet that, then you can build upon it. One of the other best ways is to support the behaviors you wish to see. So when you meet your small and attainable step, really honor and celebrate your successes as a win. Maybe have an accountability partner. Maybe you can send me a DM on Instagram or post it to me in my Facebook group, the Journey Forward with Jory Rose Facebook group. Something to keep you accountable in which you are honoring your successes along the way. Another great way of building towards change is gratitude. Gratitude, I'm so grateful that even though this was hard, I was able to stick to this small and attainable step to reach me towards the version of myself that I really want to become. So I hope you can begin to see why setting intentions is a really helpful thing, because it also allows you to shift the end destination point based on where you're at. Because again, a lot of goals are somewhat arbitrary. They're set in timeframes that may not be realistic. They might have us taking on too big of a task to begin with that is unrealistic for the habits that we've begun to create. So, really we're talking about 2 fundamental different things here in this episode. One is gaining clarity on what you want to let go of. And in order to gain clarity on what you want to let go of, you've got to get clear on how it's not serving you. In order to understand why it's no longer serving you, perhaps get curious how it served you at some point and why those conditions are either no longer present in your life or you no longer wish to engage in those habits, that you keep those habits present. I know that was kind of a wordy response there. Once you recognize what the shit is you want to let go of, how you can label those rocks, so you can begin to take them out of your bag and set them down, setting intentions for yourself that support that habit. And recognizing that January 1st, 2022 does not need to be the date that you decide to create change, that you decide to create the change when you are ready, because you no longer want to be living within the conditions or out of alignment with your values or with who you truly want to be. Because I always say, Mindfulness isn't about adding something to your to-do list, right? Those practices of awareness and attention and intention, of accepting what's arising in each present moment, practicing gratitude and compassion and loving kindness towards yourself and others. But truly, mindfulness is something to add to your to-be list. Who do you want to be in the world? How do you want to show up? And for us to get unstuck from those habits and patterns that are no longer serving us, we've got to envision our future selves and take the very mindful, conscious baby steps to step into who our future self is. What does that look like? What are the feelings you want to be feeling? What are the patterns you want to be engaging in? And rather than focusing on the outcome, focus on the steps, letting action be your daily goal rather than some arbitrary outcome of, whatever task you're working at cultivating, whatever new habit you're seeking. So I invite you to listen to this episode as often as you need, as a reminder of taking that mindful moment, pausing, closing your eyes if necessary, to consciously breathe in all that's nourishing and healing, and to consciously exhale out whatever is standing in your way from being the best version of you. When you can set that foundation, create that mindful moment, gain the clarity, and offer yourself the compassion for where you're stuck, and setting the intention for where you'd like to be, then you are on the path to living your best, most authentic life. So thanks you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you found this little virtual workshop on letting your shit go and setting New Year's intentions really helpful. I wish you a very healthy and peaceful and happy and mindful new year. May this new year be one of your best years, not because of what you might, achieve or you might gain as far as accolades or successes, but may this be your best year ever, because it is the one in which you choose awareness and attention and intention as your guiding principles for how you move through your life, of how you want to show up with your quality of presence in your own mind's attention and in the quality of presence in your relationships, to live consciously, to be present, to not get stuck in the past and to not dwell on the unknown future, but to truly be present, offering yourself the compassion for when it's hard, practicing gratitude for getting through all your challenges and all of your successes. So I wish you a very mindful 2022. And if you'd like to join me for the Journey Forward method, we are starting on January 11th. The link is in the show notes. If all of these tools sound like something you really seek to bring more into your life but are uncertain on how to actively implement it, then please join the Journey Forward method, and I am happy to guide you on the way. The link is in the show notes. And once again, wishing you and your loved ones a very happy, healthy, and peaceful 2022. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Take care and be well.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat, visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.